Hi, welcome back to the Mind Sports Olympiad 2019. My name's Steve Rain. I'm here with Alex Petraka.
Yeah, that's right.
I got it right. We're here commentating on the Carcassonne Olympiad Championships. Basically, there's 5 rounds in Carcassonne, 4-player games. You play several games over the course of the event, and at the very end, there'll be one person who scored more points than the rest. We're joining some players halfway through the game in round 3. We're going to stick with these. We're going to see who wins this particular game. We're going to have a look at round 4 and round 5 afterwards. And round 5 will be our gold medal match. The winner of that match probably will be the gold medal winner, depending on points. So we're going to join this game in. We're just going to refer to you at the scores at the moment. Scott Agius playing blue in the bottom right. He has won both his first 2 matches. He's on a maximum score of 24 points. Stephen Wright, playing yellow, has won one and tied second for a different one for 17.5 points. Ishan Malhotra has come second twice for 14 points. And Victor Hernandez has got a second and a third so far for 11 points. What they're trying to do is get enough points to kind of make it to the next cut. The next match will be probably like top 12 players potentially making the final table. And then the very last one will be the top 4. So we're going to...
Is there a maximum of points that you can get?
Yeah, so if you win a game, you get 12 points, and then 7, then 4, then 1. So they're looking to try and get as many points. Scott's on the maximum so far, and those scores will kind of carry through. We've got loads of players. We've got about somewhere between 40 and 50 players in the event. It's a very busy room, and this is one of the tables where there's been a slight cut, so the players further behind are put on different tables and stuff. So this is sort of seeded, and you're getting some of the better players remaining still in the event, playing each other. We're looking at the score track at the moment. If you look on the left-hand side, there's a little score track of, they're called meeples, little person-shaped people.
Wooden people, yeah.
Wooden people, yeah. They're my people, so they're my meeples. So basically, on the left on there, there's a score track, and black is leading with 11 points. Blue's got 4, and yellow and red have 2. And you can see at the moment it is Ishan Malhotra's turn as black. He has a tile in front of him, what can you do with the tile in your turn, Alex?
You can place it. He's got a road on his tile in part of a city, right?
He has, yeah.
So you can place it to continue the road. He can't end it in this case, or he can add it to a city. I don't know if he can add it to any city at the moment.
So black has a city on the right-hand side of the board with 2 bits. He can add it there, but what he's trying to do with that particular city is he's trying to bring it round to join the one that red has. And the city tile he's got at the moment sort of ends a city, so you might not want to place that around the right-hand side of the board.
Do you always have to play your tile?
You always have to play a tile,
right.
And to score some points, you need to then put a meeple on the tile. There are 4 different things you can put meeples on. You can put them on roads, and I think your meeples are robbers, and they score points when the road finishes. He's adding to the city, so that's actually good for red. If he does it there, because red then might decide to share the city with him.
Yeah.
Before he puts that, he could put it there. That's absolutely fine as well. That's probably a bit worse for him. If he's going to put it there, he needs to put it yellows.
Is that part of the city, a continuation of the bottom part?
They're not joined together yet.
They're not joined together.
Stephen Wright's kindly telling him the gap in the middle of the table. That tile fits perfectly. Stephen would love him to place it there because it would finish Stephen's city. I'm almost certain I would like to put money on Ishan not putting it there.
I don't think he'll put it there either.
I do not think he'll put it there. He will. If he did, he would score 4 points to the road, but Stephen would score 6 points for his completed city.
He's putting it at the top of the road, of the bottom of the road.
Yeah, so he's got a choice to put a meeple on the road as a robber or in the city as a knight. He's still not decided.
Is he allowed to do that?
Yes.
Place it down and then...
Yeah, until he said, that's my turn, I think there's a lot of, does it go there, does it not? I think players are allowed to. It's not like chess, where if you put it in place, then you have to leave it there or anything like that.
I was going to say, it is a bit like chess in some ways. You have to kind of figure out your strategy once some pieces are on the table.
Yeah, it's even more, especially if you know all the tiles in the deck. You know if there's certain tiles that will still fit in spots. Right. So you'll look at the centre of the board there where Stephen Wright's city is, yellow. The tile that Ishan had would fit in there. And Stephen Wright's got to be worried that there's not many more tiles like that in the deck.
It's like counting cards somehow.
So earlier you asked me a question before we started. Is the possibility of sometimes drawing a tile that you can't place? This is sometimes the hardest tile to place. It is a city tile, all 4 sides with no walls, so it has to go inside a city. And sometimes you won't be able to do that. Now, has yellow got any cities? He has one at the
He's got
top left,
one,
hasn't
yeah.
he? What happens if he puts the city tile he's got there?
Then him and blue will have equal
Yeah,
number of meeples,
they will
right?
not.
So they
I
will
think
share it.
blue will have 2.
But then if yellow puts a tile there, wouldn't yellow be able to put a meeple
you can't
on?
put a meeple on something already, something someone's already controlling.
Right.
So to
okay,
steal
I
something,
see.
you've got to start it separately and then join it up.
I see.
And that's what blue's trying to do. So Stephen's kindly adding into Victor's. Oh, no, he's not. He's not putting it there. I think sadly he's got to help someone. He's got to put this on a city that isn't his. He might decide to put it in the bottom left, which is probably the one that scores. It's not a nice position. He just can't place this, and he's going to be doing it to add points to someone else. So this is possibly the best place, because have you seen the tile next to it where yellow's got his?
Yeah. Is it a field?
It's a monastery.
It's a monastery.
And a monastery will finish when you surround it. So that helps surround his own monastery. So that might be a sensible thing to do.
So it doesn't matter what players surround the monastery as long as it's surrounded and you have it in the middle.
Correct, yeah. So for things to finish, it doesn't need to be you that finishes them. If they finish, they're going to score you some points. And because he's drawn the next tile, it is now Scott's go. So Scott reveals his tile. It is a monastery with a piece of road on it. So Scott is blue. And what he wants to do, he wants to place this in and around. He wants to place this in and around other tiles. So I think he's going to have probably, he's got 3 options, I think. He can place it in the bottom left, where red's got his road. He can place it next to that, either side of it, and hopefully red might continue to add to that. I imagine he places in the bottom, to the right of the red one, because then he doesn't complete red's road for him, and that's already next to 3 tiles. He can place it on the left-hand side where there's 2 roads going off. He can place it in the bottom one of those 2.
Or on the side here.
Yeah, he can't place it in the top one. Or he can place it up there, which adds to his own road, but it's currently not next to as many tiles.
I see. So will his row need to be closed from the other side as well before he can score the points?
Before he can score the road. And he's actually, if you notice, the road is actually also controlled by yellow.
Yes.
So if yellow or blue adds a tile there, they'll both score the road. How many points will the road score?
Does it matter how many meeples they have on the road?
If I've got 2 and you've got 1, it's my road and you don't get anything. But at the moment, blue and yellow have 1 each, because the one at the top is on the monastery.
Doesn't count, right?
So currently, that road is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if they finish it, it will be 7 points to yellow and 7 points to...
That's a good amount of points.
It is.
So you get all these points during the game, and then at the end, if you finish first, you get 12.
You don't know. So finishing first is in whoever wins finishes first.
Yeah. Sorry, winning.
12.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So if you win, you get 12 points. So you score the points through the game, and then at the very end, you score partial points. So if I've got a man in the city and no one finished that city, at the very end of the game, I'm still going to score some points.
That's good.
But cities double when they're finished. At the end of the game, they don't double. So you really, if you can, you want to finish your city.
Finish it, yeah. I'm really hoping for someone to fill that tile in.
What I will tell you now is that the only person who will do it will be Stephen Wright, because it benefits him most. And there's not many tiles that go there. I think the players have blocked him in a bit.
I mean, if Ishan has a tile that could go there, he might help him because he's quite far ahead. So if he's close to finishing, maybe he'll be merciful. The
problem with Ishan is currently he's not close to scoring many things. Ishan's not close to finishing either of these cities on the right-hand side, and he's just started a city on the bottom left. So the only meeple Ishan's got is there, and he can finish that. So scoring more points, he's not going to score many points quickly. The other thing, you'll notice how many meeples Blue's got out.
Lots.
Blue's got 6 meeples out, which means Blue can potentially score quite a lot. Red's got 5 meeples out.
How many meeples are there? 6 or 7?
I think each player gets 7 plus 1 on the score track for 8.
So Blue's played all his meeples. in the game.
Yes, he's got all his meeples out there, so...
Yeah.
So the danger of putting out all your meeples is sometimes you might be able to play a tile that finishes straight away.
Yeah.
If I play that tile and I can't put a meeple on it, I won't be able to score it. Because if you play a tile that finishes straight away, you get the meeple back straight away. So you can put this down, finish, get it back, and score those points. So I would say who's doing well at the moment? I think Red's
doing well, I think.
Red's doing well because Red's got a city to himself at the top. He's got part of a city at the bottom right. If he can join it up with Black without Black stealing it, he'll do well.
He's got... is that a road or a village?
I think it's a road.
It goes through... Okay.
I think it's a road he's got on the left-hand side. And he's adding to his own big city again.
Nice. That's a huge city.
It is. It's actually, if he finishes it, it possibly will win him the game if someone can't steal it off him, because that's going to score him a lot of points. You've got to be careful at the end. Farmers can come into it, but yellow might also help him finish it, because yellow's got a road and a person on a monastery, and yellow's got an invested interest in trying to finish the tiles above that place. Okay, so we're looking at Ishan. It's another one that's not good for him in terms of joining up this city. That isn't bad. What he wants to do at the moment, Victor is not going to add to this city on the right-hand side because he's scared that Ishan will steal it. If Ishan does that, Victor is now incentivized to occasionally potentially add to that city, join up with him and share it. So I think that's what Ishan's doing.
So I can see that city is kind of like strangled in the middle. Is that not two cities? Is it the same one?
That will be two cities.
Right. So if Ishan puts it there, he can potentially close it in the next couple of moves?
Correct, yes, he can close it. So that's another thing. So obviously closing cities gets you those double points.
So I think that'll be quite a decent place to put it on.
But if Ishan finishes this city off, the red farmer will score 3 points at the end of the game as well.
Right.
So remember, the farmers at the end of the game, they don't come into the end. You don't notice them until someone says, I've got 15 points from farmers, and they beat you.
Oh, he's just finished the city here?
He has. So how many points does he get?
So that's 2 tiles and a city doubles it. So 4 points?
If he does that, he'll get 4. And he can put one of the meeples on the bottom half and start a new city.
He's debating it.
Yeah, he looks like he's doing that, yeah. Which means if he draws a similar tile next time, he can get another 4 points and get his meeple back and that sort of thing. So Carcassonne has been played here for many years. The winners previously, Scott Aegis, came 3rd last year. So he's doing well again. He's won 2. He's obviously a good Carcassonne player. Stephen Wright has drawn another monastery. He's stuck it in there next to Blues Monastery, so they might help each other out finishing off those monasteries. What I will tell you now, if you ever want to get good at Carcassonne, you need to get good at drawing monasteries, because they score potentially the most sometimes, especially if you can get all your monasteries together and they all score off each other. Last year's winner was Martin Herb Margie. He is not in this. He is playing Texas Hold'em. He's made the final table there. Charlotte Levy came 2nd. She's actually running this, so thank you, Charlotte, for doing that. And you can see now that this is bad for Black, because everyone else has got a monastery in the top left.
Yep.
And so every time they place a tile there, they're all helping each other, but not Black.
And Yellow is in a good position right now. He needs 1 more tile for the monastery?
He needs, for which one?
For the one on the top.
No, he needs to completely surround it. He needs 3 more.
3 more, got it.
But Yellow's closest to finishing. Yellow's monastery is scoring the most points at the moment, because at the moment the yellow one's got 6 tiles around it. The other monastery Yellow's got has got 7. He's got 3 underneath it, 3 on that row, and 1 above it. So that's completed Black's road. That is 3 long, 3 more points. And Stephen has got another, I think he's been a bit unlucky here, he's got another big city tile. So he's looking places to add this. At least he can add this without joining anyone's city up. Oh. Yes, that's good. You can see a game of Carcassonne's not limited. It's only limited by how big your table is. So this could potentially go all the way into the scoreboard. So that's a city with 2 bits. At least Stephen can add cities there. Scott is adding one near to his monastery, but he's got no meeples left now. So what Scott's ideally wanting to do is play a tile that finishes something off. His best bet is a tile that finishes off his city in the bottom. I think that's the closest thing he's got. Or a road that finishes off the road that he and Stephen will share. Because Scott ideally wants to pick a meeple. But at the moment in time, because he can't put any more meeples out, he hasn't got the potential to score many more points. And the danger what Scott's done, although farmers are strong, he's placed 2 farmers out on the board already. And those 2 farmers will never come back to him.
Aren't these 2 farmers in a connecting field?
They are, yeah.
So wouldn't one farmer be enough?
It would, but he didn't know they were connected when he played them. Because remember, you can't place a farmer in a field someone else has got. So when he placed the 2 farmers, initially they were separated and people have joined them up. So, yeah, but the advantage with that is that field, can you see that Stephen's also got one in that field? Stephen doesn't score any points to it because Scott's got more people than him.
Makes sense.
Okay, Victor has joined up on the bottom right. He's joined up the city.
He's hoping Ishan.
He's hoping Ishan can't steal off him. But if they work together, again, Victor will get some points. And at home, I know if you've played at home, sometimes there are things called shields. It's a bit hard for us to see from our commentary box, but some of the city tiles have these blue and white shields on them. They add points to the city. So if we're looking at the bottom right city, it's currently worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 shields is 6, 7. So that's worth 7 points. If it gets finished, it will be worth at least 14, obviously, maybe even 15, or 16 or 18, because you need 2 more tiles to finish it.
So they're usually on big cities.
Yeah.
Because you bring them together.
Can you see what Black's done at the bottom?
Yep.
Played that tile.
Yep.
Scored the city he was in for 4 points, and then placed a farmer. That's a farmer now.
It's a farmer, yeah.
Because he's on his back.
It's on the back.
And so a farmer will score 3 points at the end of the game because it's next to that one, but he's hoping that he can complete another city and make that farmer worth 6.
Do you mind explaining again? Why is the farmer scoring 3? So it's
so the field's in
the
field
yeah.
is a very, very small field.
Yeah.
Just this bit of grassland.
Yeah.
But at the end of the game, that's that farmer's field, and he will score 3 points for every completed city that his field touches. So although it's a very small field, there's a completed city above it, so
and
he'll
if
score 3.
he finishes the bottom,
that will be 6. And if he can connect it round on the left-hand side to this other one, he can get up to 9. Or if he can connect it on the right-hand side, he can get 9. So that farmer, at the moment, scoring 3, unless someone steals a field off him. But if he can complete some more cities, he scores more.
Does the size of the city matter? No.
So again?
Size of the city doesn't matter, right?
No, just 3 points for every completed city. Now, generally, the cities will be... So Victor has been lucky here. He's drawn a tile that extends his city and stops Ishan stealing it. So Ishan and Victor are now incentivized to work on that together, because if they can finish it, it's going to get them both a lot of points. Victor has also got another city at the top, which is going to score quite a few points, because I can see at least 3 shields in that as well. So, last time, do you remember Ishan played a farmer there? Can you see now the farmer's field is extended?
Yeah.
He will now score both of these cities.
Nice.
6 points. And he's also played someone on the road. So I think Ishan is miles ahead on the board. He's got his first farmer down. He's scoring 6 points for the farmer. He's got all the points he's got now. He's got some points for the road. He's got a city on the right-hand side he's sharing with Victor. This is very good for Scott. Stephen and Scott both are going to score 7 points for that road.
7, yeah.
But, more importantly, Scott gets a meeple back. Scott was short of meeples. So now Scott potentially can do what Ishan's been doing and score lots of little points and keeping a meeple in his hand. So there,
yeah.
You didn't see him do it.
He made a city.
But he made a city and he put his meeple on, and then the meeple came straight back off and scored him 4 points. But if he didn't have that meeple in his hand,
he wouldn't have
he
got any
wouldn't
points.
have been able to do that. And sadly for Victor, can you see Victor's got this farmer on the right-hand side? This field now goes all the way up and round, over the monastery and back down. So it's now the same field, the same one massive field, that blue
Scottish,
controls. Yeah. So
Scott
Scott has the field. Stephen's farmer's dead at the moment, unless Stephen gets the farmer, and Victor's farmer's dead. So you know when I said early farmers can be really good. Yeah. If you know what you're doing, Scott's picked some good places, and Scott's managed to connect the field together. I think actually Stephen did it on the previous term. But now Scott, every completed city in this big field, at the moment there's 1, 2, so that farmer's worth 6 points. Ishan's got another 4 points, and a third city for that farmer. So Ishan's doing very well. In that bottom left corner, if Ishan wins, that bottom left corner is going to win him the game. Each one of those cities scored him 3 points. 3
points, yeah.
And
so
then
9 points.
And then the farmer is going to score another 3 points. Apologies. Each city scored him 4, which is 12. And the farmer's going to score him 3 each, which is 9. So that's 21 points, that bottom side. So there are our players. You can see Scott on the left, Victor Hernandez with the glasses on the left. We've got Stephen Wright nearest to us on the right, and we've got Ishan Malhotra far right. Right, Stephen scores that. How many points is that going to be, do you think?
That is 4 tiles, so 8 points.
8 points, well done. So Stephen moves into second place.
Does he not have to? Oh, did he take the meeple off already?
Yes, he took the meeple off, yeah. So Scott is also close. You can remember how you score your monasteries. You can see the monastery at the start. Scott initially, when he placed that, there was nothing near him. So he's done very well. He's kind of encouraged other people to kind of join up with him, and he's played a lot of his tiles around there. He just needs one more tile to finish that monastery off. And then he'll get the guy back and he'll score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 points.
9 points.
Yeah.
Do you know when this game was created?
Yeah, it was created in 2002. At least it won Game of the Year in 2002.
Nice.
It came from there was a game called Settlers of Catan.
Yeah.
Back in 1995. Have you heard of that one?
Yeah.
Because we filmed it last weekend.
Yes.
And that kind of. Although it might not have been the first Modern World game, it was the one that became popular, and it kind of popularised Modern World games. And since then, the game design's just got sleeker and smoother and nicer, and the mechanics are so simple. Here, you just place a tile, put a meeple on it, but like the strategies and the depth of this sort of game is great. This will be, I would describe this as one of the best 3 gateway games to introduce players to. Settlers of Catan is a great gateway game. Might have aged a bit now, it's still good though. Carcassonne is another good one, and it was played early today, or we didn't film it, a game called Ticket to Ride. Oh, look what Stephen's drawn.
A miracle has happened.
Yes, he has. So not only that, he scores the road, because he had a meeple down, so he completed the road for 1, 2, 3, 4 points. And the city was 4 big for 8 points. So Stephen's taken the lead. So he's done very well. Or he luckily drew the tile he needed. However you want to see that. Scott's finished his monastery. He's scored 9 points, and he's now got 2 meeple in his hand again, so he can start putting those meeples down and scoring things. This game is about 3/4 of the way done. It looks like Victor is going to struggle to finish the city at the top because he needs at least 2 more tiles, and he's doing that by himself. But what he'd ideally want is to finish the city on the right-hand side with Ishan's help. So they only need 1 tile to do it. That's a tile that kind of goes diagonally from corner to corner. And if they get that tile, they're going to score, they're going to score quite a lot. They're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 2 shields is 10. They're going to get 20 points. So currently, I think Ishan's probably favourite. He's got a farmer that scores him 9, a potential 20-point city if he can finish it. I think Ishan's favourite. I think it depends if Scott can steal the city off Stephen. If Scott can steal the city off Stephen, I think Scott's going to move into second. And Victor's got a lot of points coming, but he's quite a long way behind at the moment, so it's close for who's currently in there. But I think Ishan's probably got the most potential points on the board.
So after there's 2 more turns, right? Yes. Cool.
You heard that there from Ishan. There's going to be 2 more turns. I think Stephen went first. And it's although there are going to be 3 tiles left over, you can see to the right side of the board, there are 3 spare tiles. Because it's a tournament, we're going to play equal turns. But in a proper game of Carcassonne, you'd play all the tiles.
What happens if there's a draw?
If there's a draw, they will actually draw the game, and they will split the tournament points. So whoever wins this will get 12 points for the tournament. Whoever comes second will get 7, third, fourth 1. If they tie, they will add 12 and 7 together and half it. So you'll get 9.5 each.
Right.
So you can see that currently Stephen's on 17.5 points. That's because he tied. He came joint second in his first game. Now Stephen could end Ishan and Victor City, but he will not.
I've only got one more tile after this, haven't I?
So he's going to look for something to maximise the most points. It might be chance for a last-ditch farmer if he dares do it, but he's struggling. There's not many places he can place this, actually. The only place I can definitely see is so he can't place. He could place it there, but that helps Scott. He could place it on the city on the left. He could place it to the left of it or to the bottom of it, and it only helps Scott, I'm afraid. He could place it on the city that Victor and Ishan have, but that only helps both of those two. He definitely won't do that because that finishes the city. So I think he might just put it out the way and maybe stick a farmer on it. He might put it above the city to the left and stick a farmer on it.
Oh, he was about to close this.
Yeah, or actually that scores him 4 points. That's possibly better because it also adds to his monastery.
Yeah.
Well spotted.
And then if Scott finishes his city, he'll get all the points for the monastery.
The people are commenting. If you are watching live, someone has commented. We're going to find out as quick as we can and reply to that. You can comment live and we will get back to you. We've been told by our camera guy behind the screen, Alex is just going to have a look and we're going to reply to that comment. So if you'd like to comment on anything that's going on, whether you're cheering on and supporting the players, you want to know what particular rules are or what sort of versions of Carcassonne there are, or if you just want to know anything about the Mind Sports Olympiad in general, please don't hesitate to commentate. We will get back to you as quick as we can. So Carcassonne is played, this is by Per Sawley. Carcassonne is played at National World Championships, also in a lot of tournaments at Board Game Arena. Board Game Arena is one of those online sites you can play on. The competitions are always 1v1 and the best players in the world are really skilled. It's strange that MSO doesn't respect that. Carcassonne is established a tournament game and run the format 4-player. 4-player, of course, makes the outcome more random. I fully agree with you. We are playing over 5 rounds and it might just be just the number of space, the number of tables, the number of sets we have available as to why that is the case. But apologies for that. But if you do prefer your 2v2, you can play online at Board Game Arena. Thank you, Per Sawley. And if you would like to play 1v1, play online. 1v1 is much more skilled because a lot of the players can learn all the tiles in the game and you can know what sort of tiles can't go. And especially in 1v1, you can be a lot meaner to your opponent by placing tiles next to what they're trying to build in such a way that you make it either restrictive or very impossible to fill that in. So yes, there's definitely more skill in a 1v1 game. I'm not part of the tournament organising committee, so I don't know why we choose to play 4-player. But I respect your point, Per.
Is it quicker, maybe?
You're placing the same number of tiles, but it's probably slightly quicker because yeah, it's probably slightly quicker. So this would be good for Stephen. You can place that for 7 points, I think. This is his last action. They've each got 1 action left. And that's worth 7 points to Stephen. And
unseen tiles, right?
Yeah, so you get one of those. You get that, that's it, game ends.
And I'm afraid Stephen's got 7, but by placing that, he's given Victor 9 because he's given access for Victor, the red one, to share the farmland with Black. So Black is going to get 9 at the bottom, as is Victor. So I think actually that might be the highest scoring farmland. No, the other big farmland that Scott's got's worth 9 as well. You're going to get 1, 2, 3 little ones. 4, it's worth 12.
Do unfinished monasteries get points as well at the end?
Unfinished ones do, yeah. You would score, so for example, the monastery that Stephen's got at the top here would score 8. It would usually score 9 if it's filled, but you're missing a square. And the monastery Stephen just played will score 7. Monasteries are very powerful, especially if you can get a couple of monasteries together, because every tile you place next to those monasteries will score both of them, so you're effectively getting 2 points for placing a tile, and maybe even potentially getting a meeple down on that new tile for extra points. So you generally don't want to finish with meeples in your hand. Stephen's got 2 left. He's probably played slightly inefficiently because he's got his last tile out there. But like, if those 2 meeples were on the board, they would probably be scoring some sort of point. I think the same with Ishan. Ishan's going to have at least 1 meeple left, and I think Victor is as well. But Victor and Ishan scored that 20-point city while we were replying to the Facebook comment.
What kind of strategy would you employ? Would you save a couple of meeples for the end, or?
I try and get all but 1 meeple down at any point. Basically, I think. I'm afraid Victor has scored 4 points for that city, but he's also going to give Scott 3 because he's completed another city.
I think that's fine. I'll put it there here on the field.
That's
Farmer?
Yeah, that's worth 3 points because you're going to score the city at the bottom.
Leftover people.
So they're going to score as you're going along. They're going to take the meeples off one at a time and score. So basically they're doing the black meeples. 4. Are they doing black meeples? No, they're just doing meeples at a time. They're taking meeples off and adding them. So that's going to be 8 for yellow. This city is going to be 6 points for blue and yellow. This is 3 shields. The poly is 2 shields, it's 4 big. The other city is 4 for blue.
5 for blue.
You can hear Scott. If we can just hear Scott turn it up a bit, if that's possible, man behind the scenes.
54. 2 for blue. 2 for blue is 41. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for black. 5 for black is 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for red. 7 for red is 44.
You're going to do the farmers right at the end as well. So the farmers can swing it.
3 for red is 47.
I think Scott might be too far behind to catch up with his farmers, I'm afraid.
14. 3 for black for farm. 17.
So I think Ishan's probably favoured here.
9 for red and black. Oh, they're shared.
Got 1 farmer down.
So that's 20.
Yeah, but it's a 9-point farmer, and I think this is going to be Scott's going to score the most of farmers, but I think he's too far behind. Scott's going to score 15, I think.
So that's 8 here. So then those are gone, and how many have I got? Not enough, I don't think. 1, 2, 3,
4, 5, 6. He's going to score 18.
25.
He's got 6. He's going to score the big one here.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. 1,
And then he's going to score 3 for the one at the bottom.
6, so 18. 18 is 59.
He's going to get
And plus 3.
And 3 more. Oh, and 3.
Oh no!
joint second with
That's
Steve.
twice I've tied.
So that puts their tournament score. Joint second gets them a
You didn't
5.5.
count that one first, did you?
That puts their tournament score as follows.
I think it's
Okay.
yeah.
Ishan's going to gain 12. 26. Scott's going to get 5.5. He's on 29.5. Stephen's going to get another joint second. That's where the big oh no from Stephen
That's
there.
23.
So he's on 23. And Victor, I'm afraid, came last for 12. I think Ishan did very well to steal that big city off. Not steal, but share it with Victor. He placed a tile in such a way that they finished that off and got 20 points each, and Victor was unable to finish the city he had by himself, which possibly cost him catching up to them. Scott did very well with farmers. He finished the game slightly behind, but he scored 21 points for farmers. But I think what really did it was Ishan's bottom left corner, where he completed 3 small cities for 12 points, and then got a farmer for another 9. Victor was able to join in on that, but Victor's scoring elsewhere didn't hold up. So that's the game of Carcassonne. That's the first game you've ever seen.
That was fun. That was captivating.
What did you like about it then, if you were to play it yourself?
I like that it's interactive, as any player can change the fate of the game at any turn. So you have to be strategic about it and try to anticipate everyone's moves. I think playing with more people is more fun.
It's more social, yeah. It's
Yeah.
possibly less skillful, like in the comment we got. And there is some randomness there. You've got more people who can try and block you. You've
Yeah.
got more people who can try and steal in on you.
Got a bit of luck as well.
Yeah, and
or unluck.
there's less you can do to stop other players. If you if no one else is stopping this person building a big city, you might have to waste a turn doing so. So there is a bit more randomness there, but it is a social game at heart.
Yeah, it's a fun game.
So there are 2 more rounds to come. We're going to see, I think, a cut to about the top 12. So all the games are going to continue playing, but the top 12 will be on their own little table or thereabouts. It'll be the top 12 or the top 8 or something like that. And they will be playing for the right to get to the final table. The gold medal will definitely come from the final table, and then the silver and bronze will go to the players who get the most tournament points. So usually the silver will also come from the final table. But sometimes you can sneak a bronze by being on the second table in the last match and winning there. So we're going to get standings for you with names. We're going to look at the top few players in the hunt for a medal. In terms of points to the Pentamind, we're going to have a look at that in a sec. But the Pentamind scores is not a premium event, but is an event with a lot of players. So you imagine if you win this, you're going to get a score in the very high 90s. The Pentamind is kind of the overall championship if you've just tuned in and not seen us before. The overall championship for all the events here at the Mind Sports Olympiad. We have about 70 events going. And so a lot of players come and they're like all-round games players and they're looking to compete for that overall prize. So we're going to look at the Pentagon Standings once we can get those to you. We're going to have a look at how our leading contenders are doing. And I think we're probably going to try and get you one of those contenders on the next table should they still be doing well in the tournament. It's your first year at the Mind Sports Olympiad, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. What do you think of it so far?
I'm really happy they exist.
What game? So you've seen a few games. What game would you most like to play if you came next year so far?
So, I've seen lots of different games of chess.
Okay.
Lots of different kinds. I didn't
versions.
know there were so many versions of chess.
So we've seen colour chess and chess 960 earlier today.
Yeah. I think I'd like to play Carcassonne.
You think I'd like to play
Carcassonne?
Carcassonne?
I think I'd like to give it a go, yeah.
Good, yeah. Carcassonne's, it's really easy. You just play a tile and then see what it does.
Well, it's an easy concept, but I don't think it's that easy to play it.
Oh, it's not. No, a good player will do it. Farmers can be really keen, monasteries and where you place things as well. So here we go. We've got Andres Kusk leading still, Angus Candlewell in second. Ankush and Andres are both in Carcassonne, although last time I looked, Ankush was doing better. We've got Martin Herbmargy is in the final table of the Texas Hold'em. Last time I looked, I don't know if he's still in. James Heppel and Noah are both in the Carcassonne again. If any of those are doing well, I think Noah was up there last time I looked. So if any of those are doing well, we'll try and bring you those people as well. Matthew Hatherall is currently playing Seven Wonders Duel. He's looking to improve his scores of 80 odds. So if you can win Seven Wonders Duel, he can jump potentially ahead of Noah there. David Jameson is also in. David Jameson and Dario are both, David Jameson's in Carcassonne. Dario made the final table of the poker, but I think has since been knocked out. And the bottom two Estonians, I know Georg, I think, is in the final table of Texas Hold'em. And Kuno, I believe, has been knocked out. So they're the players. You've got four Estonians in the top. The four-time champion Andres Kusk, two-time champion Angus Candlewell, last year's second place Martin Herbmargy, and the two-time champion James Heppel leading the way, and Noah leading junior and female member. So we're going to go back. We've got two more games for you. I'm just going to nip out 1 second. If we leave that screen on there, I'll be back in a couple of minutes and just going to get back to when we join game 4. Hi, welcome back. We're about to join round 4 here at the Mind Sports Olympiad, the Carcassonne Championship, or Carcassonne Olympiad. We've got 2 rounds to go. The players now have been cut to top 16. Effectively, these players can potentially still make the final table of the top 4. So we're looking at one of those tables now. We've got the person who came joint second in the last game, who's leading the event at the moment, Scott Agius. He's got 2 wins and then a joint second for 29.5 points. We also have Marcus Ikler, one of the Estonian juniors, on 28 points, 1.5 points behind. He's in 4th place at the moment. It's very tight at the top. We have Ankush Khandelwal, second overall in the Pentagon Standings. You can see on the screen during the break. He's second overall. He's looking for a win here. A win here would put him very well placed to take the title away from Andres Kusk. So Andres is rooting for people to beat Ankush. Ankush is looking to get to the final table. And we have one more player whose name escapes me. We'll find out in a sec. I think it might be Dubravka Bamba, but we will confirm that for you in a sec. We're going to join that table now, where we're doing another round. It will take about an hour to get to our final table, and we will stay with you through the evening to get an outright winner for you. So you can see them setting the board up here. The way you set the Carcassonne board up, you can see there's a tile to the left that is dark. And that is our starting tile. The starting tile has a bit of everything on it. It's got some grass, it's got a road, and it's got a part of a city. So it gives you a good starting point. Whatever you draw, you should be able to add to it.
And you just shuffle the other ones.
Shuffle the other ones in, so they've been drawn up there. Nice handshake there. I'm afraid the player to the bottom left is the only player I don't quite know who it is. I think it's Dubravka Bamba, but we will get... no, apologies. It's... the Viraka Ramana, I think it is actually, who is on 25 points in about 8th or 9th place. So we'll see how he does with quite a strong field here. I think Marcus is an excellent Estonian junior. He's already won 2 games. Ankush has won 1 game. He's got a second and a third. He's going down a bit. He just got a third to drop him down a bit. So he's still got a chance to win the event. 2 more wins should probably win you the event, because 1 win gets you to the final table potentially. But he needs other results to go his way, whereas Scott and Marcus, a win will guarantee them the final table, and even a second place for Scott might be good enough. So we'll see how that goes. We're joining in with Alex. It's her first time watching or playing Carcassonne, so I appreciate you joining me today, Alex.
It's my second game today now.
Second game today. We're going to get those player names to you. I think the player to the top right is Marcus Ikler, and I think the player we're waiting for is Ankush Khandelwal. I think Scott is in the same seat. We just saw him playing blue again.
Steve, out of all the games that you've commentated so far, do you have a favorite?
So I have a favorite game, and I have a favorite I've commentated on. They're different things. My favorite that I've commentated on this week is probably Entropy. It's probably my favorite to commentate on, because I can predict the moves better than most games, because I'm probably slightly more skilled than other people. I'm not the best, and I wouldn't probably win the event if I entered, but I'm pretty good. Some of the other games, one of the games that we're not filming this year that I really liked last time was Mastermind. Mastermind. I don't know if you've played it. It's a very old, quite an old game. You're trying to crack a code, and you might hide a code at your end of the board. And on my turn, I put some counters in, and then you tell me how many I've got right and how many I've got the right colour but in the wrong place. Right. And then I make another guess, and I'm trying to get the correct code and as few moves as possible. It's one of the best games to commentate on, because you can predict or guess at some codes as a commentator rather than as a player, and you can see if you can beat the players to the correct answer. That was really good. My favourite game ever is Bridge. It hasn't been at the Mind Sports Olympiad for a few years now, I'm afraid. But I think it might be quite hard to commentate on Bridge unless you could see all the hands. So that's a much more difficult thing to commentate on. Another game it would be nice to commentate on would be poker, but we haven't got the technology currently to do. Have you seen on TV where you see the whole cards? Yeah. So Ankush Khandelwal is in the top left. Marcus Ikler is playing black in the top right. We've got Scott Agius playing. Apologies, Scott Agius is black this time. Marcus Ikler is playing blue. They've swapped colours, and it looks like it's Ankush Khandelwal to go first, and he's got a city tile with a bit of road in there. Imagine he puts it in the city, because cities score the most points. We've got Dubravka Turlapati, and I'm just trying to find you currently where Dubravka is. apologies, I've got a different name on the score sheet, but I've got Dvoraka Romana. I'm so sorry that I've said your name wrong. I've almost certainly said that wrong. But he is currently 2 points ahead of Ankush and 3 points behind Marcus in the overall standings. And they're looking to try and make the final table. So it is Marcus's turn. He's drawn City with a road.
So any of them could potentially make the final table.
Scott and Marcus can definitely do it. There might even be a chance for Scott to do it if he comes second. Ankush and Dvoraka. I'm just going to say the red player. Apologies, I'm so sorry. I should find out how to say your name. Dvoraka? Dvoraka? I don't know. Apologies. He's going to try and I think him and Ankush both need a win and a win only. So we'll see.
Black Monastery?
The black one is on a road and the red one is on a
road.
monastery.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a quick start from them all. I think the early moves are generally quite obvious. You put it on the best. So Marcus is going to score this.
Yeah.
And I think he might play a farmer here. Oh, he should probably play a farmer because the space he's trying to move into is a bit hard because not only do you need a city on one bit, you need a road on the second bit. So I think a farmer might have been slightly more aggressive move here.
Especially since the field seems to be going around.
Yeah, the field would have been joining up to Ankush's first city,
Yeah.
the city that Marcus just completed, and the city that Marcus left. So I think that's a mistake. So the red player, I'm afraid, has taken that field, and now to join in that field, you need to be a bit sneaky. You need to play a farmer elsewhere and then connect them up. So I think I might not be I'm not a Carcassonne expert, but I think that's a mistake. And you see Ankush played that and waved his hand. He's passing. He's not putting a meeple down because he's already got the road. So what you want to do is Carcassonne, I said it earlier, you want to be good at drawing monasteries.
Yep.
If you can draw monasteries, they're probably the highest EV tile or expected value tile. And if you want to be good at Carcassonne, you want to avoid drawing tiles with only roads on them because they're probably the worst. So you want to be, if you practice your drawing skills, drawing off the top of the deck, just being lucky and drawing the right things you need. Like Stephen Wright in the last game did, he got that perfect tile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Better to
be lucky than good. So Scott Aegis is threatening to share the city with Ankush. That's not really a threat. Ankush is happy to do that as long as it doesn't get stolen. The red player is playing on the city at the bottom. So if Ankush can join them up, sadly he could have played that on his city before Scott did that. So he might try and start a city above, maybe near where he is at the top. Places it grass to grass on the very top and places the city across. That may be a potential thing.
He could join in with he's already joining with Scott.
Yeah, well, not yet. They're not joined in yet because we've not connected it up, but I think Scott's going to join in. If he tries to put it above there, so I think that's correct. I think putting it in city, I think that's the correct one. The other possibility he had was to try and put it above the gap where Scott and Ankush are joining up there and put a meeple on it to threaten to beat Scott to it.
Yeah.
The problem with that is there are not many full city tiles. I think there's only one, maybe two in the game. I did used to know all the tiles, but I've forgotten them, I'm afraid. Marcus, good lad, he's drawn a monastery. And Scott has drawn a monastery. So again, they're trying to play these in places that are already surrounded by a lot of tiles. The best thing, so this is where they team up together. Scott and Marcus will both be playing tiles around those to try and finish them off. I think that's a decent place to put it. Actually, that is cleverer than it looks.
Probably better.
Because he's placing it there so that the red and the blue player can't place a tile there to stop the city being made. Because if you play an awkward tile where Scott's just played the monastery, it might be harder for Ankush and Scott to join that city together. So I think that's actually quite a good play from Scott there. Well done. You can see why he's leading. 6 points for Black. Black takes the lead.
And that doesn't help Marcus.
It doesn't know. It doesn't know.
So he doesn't have to share.
Doesn't have to share. Although it felt like cooperating. Like when me and you, if we were sharing a city as a third player, if we keep adding to our city, we're both going to get points and they're not. So although I'm not going any further ahead of you, we're both going ahead of everyone else.
Yeah.
And same if Scott placed his monastery down near the bottom where Marcus is. That's a good tile for Marcus to get. It's ended Ankush's road. It's not great. It's not all that great for Marcus because this space here is now harder to fill. Above where Marcus just played, there are now fewer.
Bit of road, bit of city.
Yeah, so Scott's got one of those pieces, so that's going to go out of the game. There's not going to be as many. I think there's 6 half cities and half roads, and I think there's 2 of those, and they've both gone. So I think there's only 5 tiles left in the game that will go above Marcus's blue city on the left, where the road is.
Do you know how many tiles there are in total?
I don't, but I do know from earlier rounds they get equal player turns. So if they played a 4-player game, normally there'd be 3 tiles left over. So the first, second and third players will get another go, but we're playing equal player turns. So that will not happen. So the last 3 tiles in the game won't get played. So this is the tile that Marcus would need, this type of tile. There are 6 of those in the game with half a city and half a road. And Marcus would like to put that above where his city is. As I've just been told by our cameraman, there are 72 tiles. There is a starting tile and 71 more, which means we're only going to be playing 68 tiles, which means they're going to get 17 turns each. Do you like that quick maths, eh?
Yeah, quick maths.
Yeah.
I haven't checked it though.
It's right. Okay, this is good for Ankush. You can potentially place a farmer, or you might have chanced a farmer there. Oh no, he can't because it's already part of Scott's field, not Scott's, Red's field. Red's field now stretches quite a long way. So that, do you remember earlier when I said Marcus should potentially play a farmer?
Yeah.
That's actually quite costly now because there's lots of cities touching this field. In fact, this field is touching all the cities on the board currently.
Yeah.
So as long as Red can keep that to himself, or maybe share it, as long as it doesn't get nicked off him, he's going to do very well. Now, Marcus found the tile he needed to put there, which is good for him, and it's bad for Ankush because the tile where Ankush has a city above that, he's just got a bit of a city, is now going to be a bit more difficult to fill.
He only needs 1 more tile for the
He does.
top
On the
right.
top right city, he only needs 1 more tile. But playing that will help Scott finish his monastery. Scott's changing his mind.
This is very intense.
Scott's actually at the previous turn, I didn't see it, he's placed a farmer on the far right. That farmer is on the tiniest bit of grass, but if anyone can place a tile under it, he will join up with Red and share that big farmland. So I think Scott is very aggressive with his farmers. He plays them quite early on, and he's very good at kind of joining in with others. You can see last game he scored 21 points from farmers. Let's see if he can beat that this game. The more he puts on this city, the more Ankush is going to want to try and join them up. Because at the moment, Scott's part of the city is worth more points than Ankush's part. Again, they want to team together against the other 2 players. But adding to cities score more than nearly anything else. A big city can potentially win you the game.
Oh, is that a farmer?
It is a farmer, yeah. So now the problem with this farmer is it does not join the existing field. So this farmer, the way that Ankush has just put a tile where he has.
That farmer needs more tiles around it to make more points.
So the red farmer on the right hand side of the board is not joining the big field. The field where it looks like most of the cities will be completed around. It's Scott's turn. Marcus has played a small city to the bottom. And again, you want to try and place meeples down every time. So he's placed another farmer. He's being very aggressive with his farmers. He's looking to take control of the farm that's going to score the big points. He's also hoping there's only 2 tiles needed to finish the city he's got.
Yeah.
This is one of them, but it's not the one that Ankush will be playing to end it. I imagine he will play this up there near the top to get him 4 points and extend his road. That seems sensible.
But if I were Scott, I would put a tile to finish the city that he's sharing with Ankush, or potentially sharing.
Yeah, you need
and then even if Ankush finishes
you need to draw it though.
Yeah,
yeah.
But then even if Ankush finishes the city, Scott will have 2 meeples. So
he won't be able to. Oh, you mean you want to steal it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the problem is if Scott does something to steal it, it's going to make it even bigger, and then Ankush will not join them up. He will not waste his tiles joining them up because he knows he won't score points. So I don't think Scott should threaten to steal the city because at the moment he wants Anchorage to join them up.
And then bank on the farmers for the difference.
Yeah. So in terms of scores, the scores are quite level at the moment. If we're just looking at how many points you've got on the board, if Anchorage and Scott can finish the city, you imagine they become favourites. I think Scott's doing slightly better. He's got a monastery and 2 farmers. One of the farmers is going to be in the big field. Now they just need 1 more tile to join him up. It's a diagonal tile. Apologies, they still need 2. They need 1 above the one he's just played as well. He's now deliberating as to whether to put another farmer down. And this is risky because he's going to have 3 farmers down. He's not going to have that many meeples left. There are our players. He's got Scott on the left, nearest to us. We've got Draka playing red at the far left. I've got Ankush Khandelwal in the far right, and the young Estonian junior, Markus Ikler, nearest to us on the right. If Ankush, yeah, that's probably the best.
Good, yeah.
He could do this, and so this is cooperating. This is cooperating. He's trying to close the city off, even though he currently doesn't share it. Now, there are a couple of tiles in the game where I think one's already out. It's the one that Marcus has just drawn. The one that Marcus has just played could go there, and it could break the city into 2. So Ankush is just hoping Scott doesn't draw that. And I think they've both gone. I think there's 2 out already. And I think there's only 2 of them. So.
But now he's in a position of finishing 2 cities on the top right.
He is, yeah. Cities are good. Cities are good to draw. If you can't draw monasteries, practice drawing cities. Cities are good because if you can complete them, you score those double points, and especially shields as well. You want city parts with shields in.
I think he's got a shield on the top right.
He does have a shield in the top city. I don't see many shields in.
I think it's just 2.
Yeah, 2. There's
one under the meeple and then one on the right.
Is there one under Ankush's meeple? I can't quite see.
No, it's under Scott's meeple.
So two shields in the other city. And Scott's played that there. He could have played it other places. He's played it there to try and bring his farmer into play. He really wants to join that farmer up, and he's inviting a monastery. So you see the gap. There's like a U shape of tiles on the right side of the board. If someone draws a monastery, they're very incentivized to put it in that gap because it's almost finished, and that will bring Scott's farmer more into play. He's trying to join up to the farmland he's already got on the left-hand side that the red player started. And if you can take that, at the moment it's only worth 12 points. No, it's not. It's worth more than that. But at the moment, red controls it. It's worth more than that. It's worth, I think it's 15, is it? It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 15 points that farm's worth at the moment. So Scott's really, at the moment, Scott's not going to score either of his farmers. The farm on the right isn't actually next to a city that's scoring because this city's not completed yet, the big one. And the farmer here is outnumbered by the red player by 2-1. So Scott seems to go down the farmer strategy in a 4-player game where potentially that's going to be 8 points, 3 tiles plus a shield, and it gets doubled.
Oh, there's 2 shields, I think.
I think there's only 1. You can only have 1 shield on a tile, and you never get them on the end bits.
Right.
But I'm afraid...
Oh, there's another...
that's another 4 points to Marcus. It's the correct thing to do, but I'm afraid you're giving red extra cities. At the moment now, red's farmers are going to score 21 points. So I think, unless Scott can join up, I think red will probably run away with this game a bit. There we go. Now this is going to score them a lot.
It's 3 shields at the top.
Is it 3?
5.
We're going to see how many they score. It's going to be quite a lot. It's
lots of them.
It's going to be about 20 points or 22 points. I think it's 20.
Was this your pre-table agreement before I sat down? So for yellow and black.
It's 22 points they're going to get. Our sound guy is very good. He turned it up a bit so we could hear what was going on. So I still think if Scott can join up the farmland, then Scott will win. Ankush has just scored to take him into the lead, but he's got. Can you see how many meeples he's got in his hand? He's only got 2 on the board. So I think he's going to end the game with unspent meeples if he can't get one down a turn. Red's just drawn a monastery. Like remember guys, you want to get good at Carcassonne, draw monasteries. And we're probably over halfway now. Ankush has drawn roads. He doesn't want that, but although he will be able to put some people down, he could use this to end the road he's got. I think that's correct.
Yep.
He gets some points and gets some people back. He could place, yeah, okay. So he's going to score like 8 points because you get the little bit next to the city as well.
Yeah.
So he's got 8 points. He's into the lead, but he hasn't got much scoring at the end of the game. So this is Marcus, and this is Marcus joining it with Scott. I think he probably needs to do this. I think he needs to add it to a city. He does have a shield in it, so it's worth 2 points. They're probably not going to finish that city.
Maybe Scott draws a monastery. That will help his farmers and will get him a lot of points.
Can he place the farmer there? He can, yes. Again, he's looking for a way. If he can place a tile, one down and one to the right of that has grass on it, he shares the farm. So I'm actually going to back Scott for the win here. I think he has a couple of chances to join up his farmers with Duraka. So I'm backing him for the win because he's ahead on board at current points, and he's going to score the same number as the red player at the end of the game. I think, although he has got 3 farmers out, so he's not going to score many more. He's got a monastery, a city he shares with Marcus.
I think Ankush needs to get some of those meeples on.
Yeah, he does. I think every turn he needs to be putting a meeple down, and I don't think he's got time to share the farmland. So the 21 points at least, because there's now 2 little cities at the top that if Scott can join the farmland up can then also be completed. So I think I favour Scott here. Although the red player has 2 monasteries. He's got a monastery worth 8 and a monastery worth 7. And Scott's only got 1 worth 8.
So he needs 3 more tiles.
Yeah, but I still think the red player hasn't got enough scoring on the board at the moment. He hasn't got any cities. He's got a couple of roads. Yeah, so I think
behind as well.
He's behind at the moment. He's more than 7 points behind, and he's only got 7 points more in monasteries than Scott has. I think it's the red player's turn. We can't quite see what tile he's got. And the danger for red is if Scott can do both farmers. If Scott can join both his farmers up, he'll take all 21 points to himself. So we'll see how it goes. Marcus has a monastery, a road, and 2 cities, a small and a big one. Red's trying to get in on that city that Scott's got, so that's not bad. If you can share the farmland and share that city, he might be able to catch up with Scott for other reasons, but yeah, you don't want roads this stage of the game, you want city pieces. That will score him 2 points if he puts in a road. He really wants to finish the city, so he can potentially place it above the red one at the top and finish a city off for 4 points. But he can't get a farmland. He's not going to be able to share the big farmland, I'm afraid. I think sometimes in Carcassonne, especially with a 4-player game, sometimes you could just draw the wrong tiles, and because you've only got 17 tiles over the course of the game, it can be hard to catch up.
It's more restrictive, I guess, no?
Yeah, it's just you sometimes just don't have time to make changes, and if you keep drawing roads or you keep drawing tiles that don't help you, you do it. I think Marcus missed a trick at the start by taking that farm. Allowed red to do it, but Scott's aggressively attacked it. Red tried to defend it. Scott has not joined it up yet, so he's looking to join it up. This doesn't join up either side, I'm afraid. So his best chance might be to place it underneath his farmer at the bottom here. because then you're joining. Yeah, that's what he's doing. Now there's one tile.
Oh.
I think that's correct. I think there's one tile to the left of the one he just placed. If he gets it in, he joins his farm up.
Yeah.
And if he plays a one tile underneath the farm at the top right, there's a little gap. He can join that up as well. So he's looking for 2 tiles to finish those off. Remember, we're not playing with the last 3 tiles. It's 17 turns each. The game will end on red's last turn. So I think it looks like they're going to have 2 or 3 more goes each, looking at the number of tiles left. So maybe, I think it's 3 goes each, potentially. So red will have 1 more and then 3 more each. And I think that will probably take us to the end of the game. So Scott is looking for 2 of his 3 tiles to join up his farm. Red might as well place a farm if they've got any meeples left, because he's probably not got any meeples left. That's a road. You just don't want roads at this stage of the game. I think Ankush is fading here. I know he's clearly in the lead. He kind of wants to stop Scott joining his farm up.
He's been a bit unlucky with all the roads.
He has, and
in the second half.
Yeah, he has. He just. So at least he scores. That road scores 4 points for him. At least he got a meeple out. He's still got 4 meeples in his hand. I think he's just had too many low-scoring opportunities. Although he scored quite well so far. He's just got not much to come.
Can I ask why did he move the tile when he drew from the top?
Just superstition, probably.
Okay, so you're allowed to draw from anywhere.
Yeah, you can draw any face-down tile you want. Just superstition, I think. Some people always cut a pack of cards before picking one, that sort of thing. So this is round 4 of 5. The players are looking to try and make the final table. You're looking for the final table will produce definitely the gold medal winning player, usually the silver medal, and the bronze player will usually be the player remaining in the tournament who's got the most tournament points. Current tournament points here are Scott Agius is leading on 29.5. He's on our table here. In 4th place is Marcus Ickler, joint 4th. He has got 28 points, only 1.5 behind. A bit further down in 8th place is our red player, who's on 25, and 2 points back in that in joint 9th is Ankush on 23. So to make the final table, Ankush probably need to win this match.
Scott's just played road tile at the top.
That was Marcus, I think, wasn't it? The blue player.
He put it here, and then Scott played one.
Scotland played one with it and scored 2 points, did he? Yeah, okay.
So he hasn't got a field.
He hasn't. No, he's looking for things that could add to him. So he's got 2 turns to do it. So I think Ankush's best bet to win the match, to win this game, is for Scott to not join them up. But even then, he's got more endgame scoring than Ankush, I think. He's got a big city, he's got a monastery, he's got a couple of roads. Apologies, he hasn't got that. No, he's black, isn't he? Yeah, he does have a monastery. He hasn't got a couple of roads, but he's got a big city. So that's the sort of tile Scott wants. Now, if you notice what the red player just did, he placed a tile on the right hand side, and this is what you can do. This is where the skill comes in. He's placed a tile there so that above that, the little gap underneath the big city on the right side of the board, black can't play as many tiles in that space. And black really wants to join his farmland up, so now his best bet is at the top. So that's just, 2 points. Ankush has drawn like 3 roads in a row. Again, superstition.
Yeah.
Marcus is going to get 2 points. That doesn't do it, I'm afraid. So if Scott can't join them up, our red player is going to get 21 points. Farmers, I'll just double check. That hasn't increased. I don't think that's increased since we last counted it. Got 1 on the bottom, 2, 3, 4. The big one on the right is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's going to be 27 points. It hasn't. Oh no, they've not connected yet. 8. That one's not connected. So 8. It's going to be 24 points. That farm. Now he's looking, Scott. He's looking. If he places this here and places a farmer above it, whether he can join it up. And he can. I think this is okay. He can. If he places it there and places a farmer above the line, and then place a tile up and right from it, Yeah, he's got a farm. That's his last meeple. He's just banking on joining them up. He's slammed that down, so I don't think that's the tile he wanted. I imagine it's got a tile with the city bits in or something like that. But can you see if you can get a tile to the right of where that farmer is that goes round the corner of that city, he will connect it. Now the good news for the red player is that Scott is unlikely to be able to steal it. There's not many turns left in the game. And the big farm, yeah, he's again, can you see what he's doing?
Yeah, he's not allowing Scott to connect them.
Yeah, so there is, I do not think there is a tile that will fit in that space in the game. I do not think that's a tile in there with a road going into the side of a city. I don't think that's a tile in the game. There is something in the expansions, but not in the base game, so I think that has been blocked off. So Scott's got 2 chances. He's got the best chance is the bottom farm where he's just played, because that's restricted by the fewest tiles, potentially. And then just a bit above that, he's got the farmer on the right-hand side of the board to join up. It is 24 points that red will get currently, and not black. Black will get 9 from the farm at the top, but he'd really want to join them up. Actually, Black's
Wouldn't he
getting...
get 3 from the one at the bottom?
He would get 3 from the one on the bottom, 9 from the one on the top, and none from the one in the middle, 1 and 3 from the one on the right.
Yeah.
So at the moment, he's scoring 15 points from his farms, but if you can join one of them up, that, for example, the one on the right's the best bet. So the one at the bottom's the best bet. Because if you can join that up, that one will score 24, but the other 2 farmers will still score 12 between them. He's done it. He's done it, but he hasn't got a meeple. So that would have been worth 5 points, but he hasn't got a meeple, but he's going to share 24 points. So I'm going to back Scott to win, I think. I don't know who's going to come second, because 24 points doesn't put red ahead of yellow, just with just 24. So red's going to have other scoring to try and overtake yellow.
So wait, how many more turns do we have?
Not many. You started, so I think we got 2 more.
You already have 1. Did you take already?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think
let me
it's
take
2 more
one.
turns?
2 more turns.
2 more
One.
turns.
Yeah. So they get 2 more turns each. Now, yeah, so I think Scott's going to win. I don't think the red player can get a farmer and add it there with 2 tiles remaining. I think also the red player's got all their meeples on the board. Yes, the red player's going to meeple. So the red player can't take the farm. Ankush is just drawing roads. He's just like, all he's drawn for like 7 turns is roads. So unlucky to him. Marcus hasn't got that much going on. He's got a big city to the left that he's not going to finish. That's good. That scores 6. And that completes his other monastery for 9. Gets him 6 and 3 more points for the farmer as well. So it gets him 4 plus 3 more points. So I think this is Scott's to lose. It's whether red's got enough to overtake yellow, and it's whether Marcus has enough, because Marcus has got some endgame scoring. He's got the big city on the left, which is going to score 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's unfinished, but Scott scores that as well. And then Marcus has got a few roads, a small city, and a monastery to go against Ankush's roads.
Yeah.
That's all he's got, isn't it? Roads and part of a city and a little city.
I feel like he might just pull it off.
Who? Marcus?
Ankush.
The whole to beat Marcus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to beat Scott. He might beat Marcus because he's like 20, not quite 20 points ahead. I know, 20. Yeah, just under 20 points ahead.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to be Scott. No.
This can join up Ankush's city in the top middle, which will get him 3 extra points. He's not going to place it there, is he? Surely not.
I think that's the best place, yeah?
I think he's going to place it in between the one he's got in the upper middle section, and there's a gap between a city to the top. I think he gains him 3 points. I think that's the most he can gain. He'd really like to put his meeple on it because it's his last tile, but I think it's actually better to extend his city. It's a hard game to win. You've got to play several matches and do very well in the matches. Now, Scott's so far excelled with his farmers. In the last game, he scored a lot of points of farmers and snuck a joint second because he's
21, I think. 21
yeah,
points.
it's 21, and this is going to score or even more. He's going to get the 20. He's going to get the 27 plus three more from the farm at the top for 9. That's 36. Plus 6 points to the farm on the right. That's going to be 42 points from farms.
That's a tricky tile.
Yeah, I can only see 1 point, but I could gamble on 3.
Yeah.
It's nice when they give each other advice when they're competing.
Yeah, I think it's his last tile, so he's 3 tiles left on the left of the board, so they won't be played. It's equal player turns.
You could use 3, I guess, with that.
But it's a gamble, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
Where? Oh yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah,
that's better.
they're helping
That's
you
the
out.
best
I think,
way.
yeah. Anyway, that's going to be 3 points. I think that's what we saw.
Can't do anything with it.
I can't put it.
He can't put it on because he's already got the city, and he can't join the farmland because it's not his. This could potentially be added to his
I so wish I got so many tiles when I look at you.
city. Marcus's city on the bottom would get him the most points, I think.
5 rounds, I guess.
And he could put a meeple on the road.
Blocked.
I think that's potentially his best bet. So he can place it at the very bottom. At the very bottom, he could add to his city and then put a point, get a point for the road, so for an extra 3 points.
Like 6 or 8, I don't know, but hard to find when needed.
The other possibilities, if there's a long road that hasn't been claimed, he could add to that. But I think,
This was open for ages.
There isn't.
yeah, you won't do it
Yeah,
there.
it goes right. Something,
No, because they're like
something
that.
like this. Yeah, it goes
no.
there and it turns this way.
Yeah, but then the castle would be there.
Don't think there are any
No,
other
the other side.
Is there one like that? Oh, I
Yeah,
guess there
this
is.
one.
Ah, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, I had it over here.
Yeah, so that adds to his road and gets a city. I think that's the same number of points. Scott's got some roads he can potentially play. He's got a meeple now, so he can potentially play and get some points. So he's going to go there for 3 points. Is there a better space he's looking? And he could take 3 points because he had a meeple effectively. He's sped through instead of putting the meeple down and get it back. He just says, "I have 3 points."
Nothing useful, I suppose.
And the last tile in the game before we do some scoring. So for the scoring, we're going to listen in as they score the points. Scott was very efficient last time, so we're going to see. I think he's just going to get tons of farms. So I think it's Scott's probably going to win.
Yeah, done.
Alright, people standing up. So 3 for yellow.
No, I figured you went here just to get
We've got 1 for blue. 6 for blue. 3 for blue.
no, because it's
8 for reds.
no.
8 for reds. 3 for reds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for yellow.
1 for one. Yeah. 4.
I think
2 for yellow.
I think Red's going to catch him.
1 for
2 for blue.
2.
Where was he on?
37.
3 for blue.
42.
2 for reds. 2 for reds. And then we've got here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
No, Ankish is going to
9,
beat
10,
him
11.
ever so slightly, I think.
Or red and blue?
No,
No,
black
blue
and
and
blue.
black. 50. Yeah.
And then farm. So that guy gets 9. Black 9.
I think Ankish is far enough ahead of Red for second place, actually.
Yeah, that one gets 6. 6 for black. And then we share 1, 2, 3,
4, 5,
6,
6,
7,
7,
8.
8, 9.
No, that one's not
No,
in.
that isn't
So
it.
8, so 24 for black and red.
No. 24. Oh my god. 46 is here. 24 is
Ankush gets second.
59. 59.
That's the game.
Oh,
So,
Well
Scott
played.
will go into the final in first place. Ankush gets 7 points for second. Draka, apologies, gets 4 points for third, and Marcus, I'm afraid, gets 1 point. It takes away Marcus's chances for the final table and the red players. Ankush will not make the final table with 7 points, but Scott definitely will. So we will see Scott for 3 games in a row as we make the final table. That one probably took slightly longer than most games, so I imagine they're close to being finished. We're going to get those names for you. We're going to take a short break in a sec. We're going to leave you with the Pentagon Standings on the screen. But before we do that, Alex, what do you think of that game?
I like Scott's style playing, very aggressive with farmers. Knew he wanted to play them from the start. Ankush is still in the run for the pantomime, right?
He is, yes, but this
Is he
because
second or?
yeah, he's second overall, but because he will not make, he will not medal here. He needs first or second in this event to improve his standings. He
Right. I see.
he won't know. So what he'll do now, his brain will switch off a bit. He'll play the last match, but he'll kind of be a bit away with the fairies and be concentrating on winning Agricola tomorrow. Yeah. So I like Scott's strategy. Usually I'm quite aggressive with my farmers, but it only works if there's one big field at the end. If there's lots of small fields and you get cut off a bit, you've got meeples out there not doing anything. They're not coming back to your hand. They're stuck. They might score you 3 or 6 points, but other than that, they're a bit dead to you. And as you can see, what the red player tried to do at the end was trying to cut Scott out. Scott actually had 4 meeples out of 7 flat down on their backs, not doing anything apart from waiting to farm at the end of the game. And if the red player had been a bit more successful, or Scott had not been as lucky to get the piece he needed to join them up, we would have seen a different score there.
Yeah.
So we're going to leave you with these. These are the current standings. They haven't changed since last time we have a look at it. We can see Ankush Khandelwal needs a score of over 90 odd, and unless he comes first or second in this event, he probably won't get that. It doesn't look like he will now. I think there were too many players in the event for him to medal anymore, I'm afraid. So Andrzej Kusk is still playing the event as well, but he's not in contention either. But he can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief that Ankush didn't manage to win that game. He just drew too many roads and Scott was able to out-farm him. So we're going to leave that with you now, where we find out who is going to join us for our last game. We're going to update you some scores, give you all the names that can potentially get you medals. And if you want more information about the events we do, if you check the Mind Sports Olympiad web page, you can have a look at standings, current results, and the event results at the very end when it's done. Hi, welcome back to the Mountain Sports Olympiad. We are in the Carcassonne tournament. I'm joined by not Alex, but Andres Kusk again. Thank you, Andres, for joining us.
Hi again.
How did you do in Carcassonne yourself?
Not that good. I did make it into the last 16, but did not make it to the final table.
So you won a game, but you've dropped just to conserve some energy.
Yes, just because I really cannot make it into the top 3 anymore. So at least I can do a commentary, so that is good.
We appreciate it. Obviously, Andres is in running for the Pentamind. He's got a few more events tomorrow, but as it stands, unless Ankush or someone else has a great day, he's going to win, so good luck to him. We are going to join the final of Carcassonne. We have 4 players who've made the final. We've got Scott Agius, who is leading. We've seen him in the last 2 games. He came second in round 3 and joined second in round 3 and first. He has got 41.5 tournament points. We've also got Ishan Malhotra. We also saw him. He won the game that Scott was in on round 3. He's on 38 points. We've got Danielle Ferry, the designer of vegetables, one of the games that's played here. He's a lovely man to chat to. He's on 35.5 points, and half a point in 4th is Stephen Wright. We've also seen, I believe, him. He came joint second with Scott a few rounds ago. So Stephen's had a joint second to first, a joint second to first, so he's doing pretty well too. We're going to have those 4 players. There's a host of players behind them, but the gold medal winner has to come from those 4. We're going to join them as soon as they start.
So all 4 final table players are great Eurogames players. They seems to be all specialists in team games.
Yeah, I've played Stephen Wright. He's learning his all for tomorrow, but I played him at Stone Age. It seems to be his cup of tea, this thing.
And Scott, I think he won Catan in the first day, didn't he?
He's already won Catan, so the first Eurogame of the weekend he's won, and I believe he came 3rd in this last year, so he's setting himself up. He's got to do, I think if he tops 3, he's probably going to get a medal given his current standings. So if we look at last year's winners, we've got your good friend Martin Herbermargi, who won last year, but he made the final table of Texas Hold'em, but you think he's out now?
Yes, he is now out. So
Kuno Kolk is one of the Estonians. He's still in the last 3 people. He's guaranteed a medal. I think there's 3 people left in Hold'em.
No, it's
Kuno,
it's Georg.
Georg.
Who is that?
Who's also in the top 10 overall, so a good result there might bump him up a bit. Here are the players around the table. I believe we have, trying to work out who's who. I think Scott Agius is in the bottom left. Probably we're going to confirm that in a sec. I think he's going first because he is the leader. We have Ishan Malhotra, I think, in the next seat. We have Danielle Ferry playing red, and I believe is Danielle Ferry playing red? We're going to get confirmation now, and I think Stephen Wright is in our 4th seat playing white. Not white, yellow. Okay, so Scott started off with a 4-pointer. He got a little double city.
A good start for him.
Yeah, now in the original rules I read, that would have only scored 2 points. Cities would only double if there were 3 tiles or more.
Okay.
So that has changed. That has changed since then. There's a not a disagreement as such, but there's potentially occasionally people argue. So an early farm from Daniel.
Okay, that's an interesting move. I definitely would not have done this move so early.
It's worth 6 points, probably.
Yes, probably even more eventually, but not sure whether you would like to lose one of your men so early.
In a 4-player game, it's better than it would be in a 2-player game or a 3-player game.
True.
So you only get 17 actions in a game, and you've got 7 meeples. So each meeple.
But now he left this option for other players to complete the city. So I would have put his man in the city.
I actually might slightly disagree with you. I'm quite an aggressive early farmer myself when I play. But it allowed Scott to get some 4 points. So he's going to score 3 points is Danielle. Again, each meeple should score twice. So basically you've got 7 meeples. If you put them down and you bring them back up and put them down again, that should take you about the 14 turns, and you've got 17 turns in the game. So you should be looking to be getting your meeples back. So if you put your farmer down, it's a bit harder to get your meeples back with any regularity. So there is dangers of doing so. And the other danger of an early farmer is that people start cutting off your fields. They
Yes,
make it
exactly.
hard for you to extend your field. But I'm a firm believer that in a 4-player game, people are going to get a lot of these 2-size cities, and your farmers are going to be worth a lot.
Anyway,
of
we
points.
will see how this will work out for Daniela. Then we know better for the next year.
Yeah.
I think some people like to play farmers early on. Some don't. I rather prefer to wait a little bit until I know for sure where I want my farmer
I'll
to
tell
be.
you now that Scott's got a farmer as well, and I will tell you from watching Scott, he is also an aggressive early farmer. So we've got a tie here. So Danielle and Scott are doing the farming action, and Ishan and Danielle have joined up a city. They've got a city worth 5 tiles and a shield already. So if they can finish that off, it's definitely worth, I think it's worth at least 16 points if they finish that off with the smallest amount of tiles possible. So. Danielle's not just played a cathedral at the end of that road, he's also joined his farm up with the grassland above the road, so he's extending his farmyard. So if you're playing at home, if you want to play this in the future, to distinguish between a farmer and a meeple that's scoring, you put your farmers flat on their back. So that tells you that they won't come back, they're having a rest. You won't get them back to the end of the game, but all the meeples that are stood up, just in case you knock them or something or nudge them a bit, if they're stood up, they will be on something that scores when it's complete.
It's interesting to see yellow and black cooperating in building cities in order to kind of to fight against other players who are just putting farmers. So I guess they understand that they need to get a lot of city points in order to counter this farmer strategy.
Yeah, I think that's correct. But we're seeing potentially Ishan is suggesting a serious disruption. If he places it where he's got it nearest to, he's making it harder for Danielle and he's making it harder. In fact, if Ishan places it there, he's making it harder to complete his own city. That's what Stephen's telling him. So Ishan shouldn't place it there. He's making it harder to complete that city by placing that tile.
Even there should be quite a lot of tiles that fit into this.
There would, but they have to be drawn by black or yellow.
Yes, that's true.
So there are enough. There are some tiles that do it. In fact, the same tile again, but the reverse way round would do it. So I'm not sure I fully agree with that move.
I actually do. I like this one.
Okay. Because you want to score that city. So that city, if you finish it off in one turn, there were 2 shields. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's going to be worth 20 points if you finish it with 1 tile.
I think I would not agree with this one if it was easy for other players to block finishing this city, but currently they need to draw 2 tiles in order to try to block the finishing the city.
We were talking earlier about it being a much more tactical 2-player game. I mean, cathedrals are always good. You want to... Oh, he's played a farmer.
And not... Okay, this is interesting.
That's aggressive.
This is really interesting.
I don't know why you wouldn't... I mean, I understand Danielle is aggressively trying to win the farm, but I don't know why you wouldn't place on a cathedral. I think cathedrals are very powerful.
I definitely would have...
Yeah, so
I would have tried to...
We'll see how it works for him, but I disagree with that. We were talking earlier about the difference between a 2 and a 4-player game, or even potentially a 3-player game. Because in a 2-player game, you're much more aggressively blocking and hindering your opponent than you do in a 4-player game. In a 4-player game, you just have to try and maximize your own score.
Yes. It's quite often happens in 4-player game that you really don't have any trouble with your meeples. You always have enough of them. But in 2-player game, you really need to be careful, because if the opponent just manages to block off a couple of yours, then you might be in trouble.
So Stephen's going to score 4 points for a road. It comes back off straight away. So it's always worth keeping at least 1 meeple behind, just so you can get those free scoring opportunities.
It's really exciting to see how this super aggressive strategy works out for Daniela. Because I think I have never seen this kind of aggressive play before, but given that he has made the final table.
Yeah. I will tell you now that Scott had 4 farmers in the previous game and scored him. What did he get him? He got 39 points from his farmers.
Okay,
so
that's interesting.
It depends on the board, and it depends. Often you need for that strategy to work, you need it to be one big field and lots of little cities. Here, if you have lots of big cities or a few big cities that don't finish, or several fields, it can be bad.
So at least currently.
So what you'll see is that Scott also has placed another farmer.
So
they're fighting each other.
I think yellow and black are kind of happy at the moment because the other ones are fighting each other for the field. So, and also they have managed really well to keep the number of cities low. There are only 2 small completed cities at the moment, and nothing is going to be completed anytime soon, other than maybe the really big city, which also would make them happy.
Yeah.
So
it will be worth 20 to them and only 3 points to the farmers.
So at the moment, I really like the strategy of those 2. But now this happened. What we were afraid of.
This is good for Danielle and Scott.
Yes,
but bad for
they are allowed to block off this potential completion of the.
And I
city.
think I'm not sure if it's in the base game, but the only tile I can think that works is a tile with a thin city with edges at both ends and one road coming in. I think that's the only tile that can potentially I've seen exist that will fit in the gap. I'm not sure how many are in the base game. I think it might only be 1 or 2 if it does exist. But if they do find that tile, then Danielle joins in the city.
Yes, true.
Yeah, they probably won't complete it because there's now a lot of open space. But this is that thing we were talking about. You'll also know that Danielle has placed that, and I think Ishan will struggle to complete the city beneath it now and make it any sizable size.
So, and it also shows great skill that Scott and Daniela had because they understood the necessity to block this potential completion of the city. So it was Scott who played the tile on the upper left side, which allowed Daniela to play the other tile just below it. So they kind of cooperated in order to achieve their goal.
It feels like 2v2 at the moment, but within that, Scott and Danielle are still fighting for the farmland. I think what Stephen and Ishan have to do is not make lots of small cities.
Exactly.
And I think what you might find is if one player can kind of go off themselves, just score 4 points here, 4 points there, they might end up winning if everyone else is blocking each other. So I know it's early, Andres. Who do you currently favour? Who do you think is in the best position currently?
Definitely not blue. So it's not Scott in my opinion, just because there are not that many cities completed. So the farmer strategy not yet has an advantage, and also if we compare the positions of Daniela and Scott, then Daniela has this nice extra option that he can actually go into this big city, what Scott does not have.
Yeah, I mean, I think if that joins up, I think Scott might struggle to avoid coming last, to be honest, if they can share a big city, even if it doesn't finish, if they can share it.
So I like Ishan, either Daniela or...
Ishan is going to try and steal this now.
Yes. But from Ishan and
he's only
Steven?
He's only going to steal it from Danielle at the moment. Because if Ishan joins up with Danielle, Steven or Danielle will not join their cities together.
That's true.
So I'd have to check the list of cards. I don't know if we've got a list of potential cards around there. Sometimes in the boxes, I had a look in some of the boxes, and none of the it gives you a list of all the cards in the game sometimes. I couldn't see it. So I'm not sure there is a piece that exists that fits in that gap, you know? Have you seen one today? Because I know you've been playing.
I'm not really sure.
Do you know what I mean?
I don't think there is.
So you're looking for something like...
Yes, exactly. There is just one type of tile.
Yeah,
I'm not sure whether it it exists.
I think in the base game, it has existed in some of the expansions. I know I've seen it before. I think it's a Cities and Night expansion or Cathedrals and Inns. But we think from a shake of a head from our cameraman, he was just sent us a list of tiles in Carcassonne, so we will double check that for you. Thank you, cameraman. That's Bartek. He's been a legend this week. So we're looking for a tile like that with a road, and there does not appear to be one. So it looks like in the base game, they will not be able to join that city. So that city is a guaranteed 9 points for black and yellow, but no more, and it won't finish.
Okay, and this is good news for Daniele and Scott.
And it's bad news potentially for Stephen because he won't be able to join up.
No.
There are 2 pieces good for this.
No, not. It's got castle there.
Who's actually leading right now?
no pieces
Blue is
left.
on Blue is on 10 points.
What Danielle is saying, he's saying there's 2 pieces, and Scott's saying there isn't any. So Scott's right. And that's the issue with Carcassonne. One of the issues is there's so many different expansions. I don't know if you've played any of them, but there's expansion after expansion after expansion. There's one with big farmers and little pigs and all these things.
Okay. So you might not know which tiles exist.
If you've played a lot, like I have, the version I have has just got lots of expansions chucked in together, so I'm not fully aware of all the tiles in the game. They do exist in some of the games, but not this particular version. The farmland that blue and red share at the bottom is only worth 6 points at the moment.
Yes.
So it's not going to be worth too much. And you'll notice also that the tile that Danielle played, the city that Danielle played on the left, is blocking Ishan's small city underneath it.
Yes.
So
that was really multifunctional move from Daniele.
Yeah, well done. It does feel like it might be quite a low-scoring game, you know. They're all blocking each other doing things.
Yes, I guess that's why they made the final table.
And I'll tell you now that Scott and Danielle have 2 farmers each.
But interesting, it's Scott who is actually leading if we count only the points on the scoreboard, even though he's going on with the farmer strategy. So he cannot do that bad actually, even though just a couple of minutes ago I said that I don't really like his position, but he has managed somehow to score a lot of points.
Ishan's now joined up the city on the left. So Ishan's going to get 9 points for the city with Stephen. On the right-hand side, the large one, and on the left-hand side, we remember this city will not finish because there's not a tile that goes in that middle gap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think.
6 or 7, yes.
I think there's 2 shields. It's a bit hard to see from our vantage point. That's going to get Daniel 2 points. Again, it's always worth having a meeple in your hand. If you ever play all your meeples out there, it's hard to score those 3 points. Now, Stephen's got a tile. He can add that to his city at the bottom. But his city at the bottom, if you'll notice, is starting to get blocked in. Can you see that? There's a road coming from the right-hand side and the road on the left-hand side, so he's just going to score 4 points. Now, that adds 3 points to the farm that Danielle and Scott have, so that city just hurts Ishan, I'm afraid.
Yes, it was really bad news for Ishan.
And Ishan hasn't scored anything yet. So although he's got part of both of the big cities, we know they won't finish. The city he's got underneath the big one on the left won't finish. And then he's got 2 roads. So Ishan, although he's scoring some, he's not scoring masses. He's not going to have one big score, is he?
And he has at least 2 meeples
on most
the board, and the third one on the small city is also hard to
get back.
Hard to get back. So maybe other players can block off this one completely as well, which means that he would have not more meeples than Daniele. And okay, actually Daniele has played how many?
He's got 4 on the board. Danielle's got 4. He's got 2 farmers, 1 on the monastery and 1 in the city at the top.
Okay, so Daniele and Scott both have 2 farmers.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Scott has 2 meeples that are not far off coming back to him. and Scott is second behind Stephen. Stephen's actually taken the lead now on points on the board. But Stephen hasn't got much that he's going to get back soon. He's not going to get many points soon. He's got the start of a road at the top right and the start of a city at the bottom left. But the city on the bottom left will be hard to finish because of how many roads have been directed towards it.
Really?
So it's quite a mess. It's hard to evaluate who stands better and who stands worse.
What I will tell you now, usually, if it's tight, it's whoever draws the most monasteries wins. So Ishan has drawn a monastery. I love drawing monasteries. They are probably the highest EV tile you can get without getting these massive cities or these massive fields.
Not that many good places stuff for this monastery.
There are not, no. He's probably got to place it either at the top where he had it. That's probably the best place. Because if he places it on the left there, I don't think that's going to get finished. And he's only got 2 meeples left.
Yes,
so I think
it's way easier to start building on the
and
top side of the
although Scott and Danielle have 2 farmers each who won't get getting back, Ishan has 2 people in cities that he won't be getting back because those cities won't finish.
True. Okay, and now his third meeple is probably also dead.
Yeah, there is a tile. There are tiles that fit that, I believe. I'll double check on the link, but I believe there are tiles that fit that. Yeah, there are tiles that fit that. There are 3 of it. There are 3. There are 3 that will fit that.
3 of them. Maybe some of them are
some
already
of them, some
on
of them
board.
probably are already out. There is. I don't think any of that actually is what. It's the reverse of that one there.
Yes.
So I think there's none.
So there are 3 of them.
I think there are 3 of them there. So there
still
are 3.
quite good chances that he can.
3 can draw.
Draw this one.
But it then also adds a city to the farm. A completed city. So although it gains Ishan 4 and a meeple back, it gains Danielle and Scott 3. By the end of this stream, I'm going to try and convince you that early farmers are good. And then next year, as you're playing all 7 of your people as farmers, you're going to blame me.
Yes, true. Probably one cannot overdo this strategy. But I'm a little bit surprised to see that this strategy is working out so well.
It's much worse if people fight you for it. Because Scott and Danielle both put 2 down quickly because they're fighting each other.
Yes, but somehow they now have
so that's
managed
good
to stop this
No, because
fight.
that's really good because that gives Scott 3 points currently and the potential to join up with the farm much easier than he had before.
It's near enough. We can see what it is.
So if he manages to get this farmer into the big farm,
it's worth 12. Now it's going to be worth 15. And he will take those points off Danielle. Danielle won't get any of them. So Scott aggressively has played farmers the last 2 games I've seen him. He's now got 3 farmers out. And I think this would be a much worse tactic in 2 players. And Danielle has got another farmer. They're going to fight.
So the fight is going on. That's fascinating to see.
But also it means near the end of the game, Ishan and Stephen can't just sneak in there. They're just not going to be able to play farmers all game.
Yeah.
So Ishan and Stephen just have to draw good. Apologies, draw well. That's better English, isn't it? This is a monastery with a road, is it? No, it's just a road.
Done.
That extends Stephen's road. Stephen's got a city on the bottom. He's managed to find a tile that means he can add to it. Potentially he can score some points there. They've both got shields in. That city's worth 4 points at the moment. It's just to do it by yourself, it's a long...
Yes.
You need quite a lot of tiles. You need at
a
least
lot of
3
time.
tiles that fit to do that by yourself. But if you can, you'll do quite well. He's currently second on points on the board.
Yeah, that'll do. I'm happy to share.
So the clapping in the background, there is the final table of the Texas Hold'em being played, and the clapping signifies one of the players has been eliminated. For your Estonian flatmate, Georg, I hope it's not him, but he did make the final 3. So
yes, I have I definitely believe in him. I think that he's going to win the tournament.
Because you used to play poker quite a lot, didn't you? Do you think he's a good poker player?
Georg? Reasonably, even though he's not really playing that much. But if you are a strong games player, then poker also comes a lot easier than for people who are not playing any kind of mind sports. Most of the Estonians, they have at least some poker background. We play just for fun against each other sometimes. So.
Danielle has drawn that tile, so he's given Ishan and Stephen, apologies, Ishan and himself tiles back. So he finished his monastery to get 9 points, and he gave Ishan 4 points. But in giving Ishan 4 points, he's also giving himself 3 because he's completed another city. So that seems like a good thing to do. I think actually Stephen's probably in last place here. He's last place on the board. He's not going to get any points for farmers at the end of the game. It looks like Scott and Danielle are probably going to get about 15. If one of them can sneak it off the other one, it's really bad for the one that loses out there.
Yes, it seems actually that the farmer strategy currently is working well.
It's fine. I'll accept an apology at the end. It can fail, and it's working well here because there's lots of little ones that share the same field. But you'll notice that once you go down the farmer strategy, you're much more incentivized to try and join things up. So Scott and Danielle are potentially looking to play one. In fact, Scott doesn't need to join them up on the left, because if he does, Danielle will get a share. But at the moment on the left, Scott's is scoring 6 and Danielle's is scoring 3. And at the bottom, they're scoring 12 each.
True.
If he joins them up, it actually benefits Danielle more than Scott.
So it's not in Scott's interest?
No, not really. It's not in either of them's interest unless...
But maybe it's in the interest of the other players, actually.
It would reduce Scott's score. No, it wouldn't.
Some games are really useful, some games are just...
the whole of the game.
Yeah,
no, in fact, it wouldn't reduce Scott's score at all, but it would get Danielle would gain 3. So it's only in Danielle's interest.
Oh, yes, true.
I didn't use any of them.
Guaranteed 6 to 9 points, and you might get your person back as well.
So Ishan has got one of the ways you could do quite well in this game is to draw like 2 or 3 monasteries and put them all near each other. So at the top of the board, Ishan has got 2 monasteries. I think with the number of tiles left in the game, he won't get either of those meeples back. But every tile he puts up there effectively gets him 2 points. Because if he can put it next to both of them, he will get a point for each one.
Yes. Even though there are only 2 places where he can get 2 points. Other one gives him 1. And now Daniela gave him 1 point.
But Danielle is playing a little city. You give him a point, but also remember, if that city finishes for Danielle, it will be worth 7.
Yeah.
He will get the 4 points of the city and the 3 points of the farmer.
True.
So I think it's between Danielle and Scott, actually.
And it seems to me that it is what Daniela thinks as well.
Although Ishan still has parts of both big cities and Scott has neither. So maybe Danielle's favoured.
On scoring board, they are exactly even, right? No. And Scott is actually ahead a little bit.
Scott is actually ahead, but Danielle's got the big city. The little city at the top is potential points. Scott has got city at the bottom left.
It's not worth
but that won't complete, but the top one will. And Scott's got a little bit of a road. And a little bit of a road.
It's quite even, actually. If Scott manages to get into the Stevens city on the...
yeah. I wonder if he's not going to play a meeple on it, is he? Is he thinking he's not? He's not, because Ishan's revealed his tile.
He only has 1 left, so
he's going to keep it for cheap scoring opportunities. So this is a tile that Scott and Stephen want. They want to join up and work together on the city at the bottom.
Yes, exactly.
I think... see, the problem is with Stephen is that Ishan is clearly ahead of him. Because Ishan has 2 big cities to Stephen's 1 at the top. Ishan also has 2 monasteries, which are scoring 10 points. and Stephen has parts of cities at the bottom left. He really needs.
But this can work both ways. He can also think that he will not catch him anyway, and that makes him more likely to.
So in terms of who of these players can win the gold medal, if we just have a quick look at the scoring, if a player wins, if that player is Danielle or Stephen, Scott can still win the gold medal by coming second, I believe. Because Danielle height can finish on...
Yes, exactly, because it's 6 points his advantage.
So Scott is actually playing for second place. Second place is good enough for Scott to win the medal, unless Ishan wins.
Yes, and so Scott actually stands really well, because Ishan is not doing so well right now.
Comparatively. I mean, I think Ishan's doing better than Stephen, unless Stephen can finish... now Scott has joined up with...
Okay,
Stephen
this is good
City.
news for Scott.
Definitely good news for Scott. Potentially good news for Stephen a bit as well, because Scott will help him finish that city.
Sure.
If they can finish the city, it puts them ahead of the other two players, because it scores a lot of points.
But I wonder actually whether the winner of the final table is going to get gold. So maybe it's...
It's not how it works this year, I'm afraid.
Okay.
It's the most number of tournament points.
Okay.
The winner of the gold has to come from this table, which is guaranteed anyway, based on the points anyway.
Okay, see. In this case, it makes even more understandable why Scott fights... Oh no, actually he fights mainly against Daniele, but his main rival is actually Ishan, right? Okay. So he just needs to make sure that Ishan does not win and that he will not be the last, basically.
Okay, actually third is not good enough.
Okay,
Scott needs at least second.
He needs to be
at least second.
True.
Now, he's ahead on points scored. He's joined up with the City. He's improved his standing. He's got more farming points than Danielle currently.
But probably this actually means that fighting against Daniele for the farms is not a good idea for him.
Correct, yes. He just needs to make sure he doesn't lose to Danielle. He doesn't need to spend his turn. There's a free 4 points to Danielle because he had a meeple back. What you don't want to do, unfortunately, Stephen, at this stage of the game, is draw roads. Roads don't do much. And you'll notice that Ishan has also actually he's coming close to finishing his monasteries.
Yes, he is.
Which didn't look likely a few turns ago.
He has managed to draw tiles
so I wouldn't, if I was Stephen, I wouldn't have put it there. I would have put that road at the end of the other road he's got, because those roads are incentivizing people to help Ishan fill his monasteries.
Okay, and now Scott helped Stephen a little bit.
Well, they get 4 points each.
They get 4 points each. Yes.
Yeah. And they've extended their farmland now. Their farmland now has. So these two farmers at the top are now connected with the two farmers at the bottom, all the way around the left-hand side there.
Oh, yes, they are.
But it doesn't actually affect scoring.
Are they actually collected?
Yes, they are. They go through the side of the city here. Down there.
Oh, yes, they do.
Yeah. So they haven't actually changed the score, but it basically means near the end of the game, there's no incentive for Stephen or Ishan to try and join in, because they've already got two farmers of the other two guys.
This fight is already lost.
For the other two players.
Yes.
And at the moment, they've got 3 each, so I don't think they're currently in danger of losing out. But I wouldn't surprise me if one of the two of them can maybe try near the end of the game, maybe with 2 turns left or something, to try and sneak and win that outright.
Yeah, at least Daniele. Maybe
it's
for,
more,
maybe for Scott it doesn't make
doesn't
too
gain
much,
anything for Scott, because Scott's probably...
He likes friendly game at the moment, because if Daniele wins and he's second, then I think this is enough for him. Yeah. But for Daniele to take a gold, I think he actually needs to try to sneak in with one more.
Agreed. And I don't know which of these players will have looked at that and thought about that deeply. You know some of them better than me. You know Danielle and Scott anyway, don't you? So I don't know if they're the sort of players to kind of play that game, look at the scores and see who's my main rival.
I think they definitely know the score, so I'm sure that Scott knows exactly what place he needs to.
He did in Catan when they were playing Catan. He knew what he needed to do in Catan.
Yes, I mean this is. I think if you make the final table, you definitely make sure that you you know on how many victory points everybody is, because you just this
No.
can affect your play.
So for Stephen and Danielle to win gold, they need to win without Scott coming second. And for Ishan to win gold, he just needs to win. And for Scott to win gold, he needs to either come second, assuming Ishan doesn't win, or just win. Scott's won quite a few games, so he's won 3. The other players have not. Stephen Wright has won 2 and drawn 2. Sorry, he comes joint second twice. And I don't know Danielle's full record, but I know he had a tie at one point. It's quite hard to tie in this game. There's been a lot of ties today. Stephen's had 2 ties and Danielle's had 1. Scott's had 1.
Okay, that's interesting.
Which is unusual for a game where the winning scores are, 70, 80 points. So we're looking at the tile Ishan's got. He's been this tile with a long time now. I don't quite know why he's not just placing it in the city he's got in the top. Maybe he's looking for a cheap city scoring opportunity, but there isn't one. So I don't know why he doesn't just try and
this
close the
seems
city.
like the most automatic move, but maybe there is something else then, given that he's taking his time.
I don't know where his choices are. He's only got a few choices. He can place it the city at the bottom. The other possibility, you could place it just down the edge of the right-hand side of the board and put a meeple on
But the
it.
game is almost over, so he might actually place a farmer somewhere.
Yeah,
Try to get into some really small farm, like the one down.
Down the bottom. So you could
bottom.
place it. Oh, so you could place it to the left on the bottom.
Yes, and get
and
3
put
points.
a farmer in between that gap, and hope that the other players try and complete some of those farms. Yeah, actually, I think I agree with you there. I think that might be the best move. If he places it somewhere down the bottom with a farmer in between it.
Yeah, because potentially he can then get like 3 finished cities.
And if someone is kind enough to take
Probably this is what he's going to do, even though I have placed it like down the very bottom.
He's doing that so that he isn't forced to join it with the existing farm. Probably, he's placing it far enough away. That wasn't a danger. Oh no.
Okay, that's.
Do you think he's trying to sneak into that city just so that they don't get far ahead of him?
I'm not sure whether this is a wise idea, because there are not that many tiles left.
Do you think he was taking a long time because he was counting
Probably.
what sort of tiles
Probably
he needs?
he actually made sure that there is at least 2 fitting tiles left.
So I was speaking to Ziggy earlier. He was working out his odds at the end of one of the game. He said, my last turn, I needed 33% of the tiles would have won me the game because he knew what sort of things he needed. He was unlucky not to do it, but the good players will know exactly their odds.
Exactly.
So this is where your choice of a farm at the bottom would have helped, because Stephen can use this just to get 4 points. Potentially Stephen could use this and place his own farmer, but
And this would risk someone else coming in on it as well.
No money.
Potentially. So, rightly or wrongly, I think I'm going to complete my own.
Yes, so I think he just needs to complete this one, even though this gives.
He could put a farmer down.
Yes,
Farmer's better. Farmer is better,
yes.
because the farmer's going to get at least 3, and if the top one gets completed, you'll get another 3. So I think a farmer was better there.
Yeah, this seems to be a mistake.
Although Stephen is now taking the lead on points on board. He's got 2 biggish cities. But I think the farming of Danielle and Scott.
No farms. Yes.
I think the farming of Danielle and Scott will do that. So this is Scott. If he can do this in a place where he's got net farm next to it, he will score 7 points. If he can't, he can score 4. So, do you know what's going through Scott's head now?
I think first thought that is going through his head is whether he needs to protect the farm from Daniele. And if not, then he can just take, for example, 4 points from the city.
He could take 3 points and put a farmer down. He could place it above where Stephen's just placed it and try and steal the farm, just this small farm on the top left off Danielle.
Yes. So he really does not need to steal.
He doesn't.
But
it's
rather
it's protection from Danielle.
Yes, but rather to protect. That's true.
Now, the way it works, in case you've just tuned in, is they play equal turns. There will be 3 tiles left at the end of the game. There are 72 tiles in the game. The starting tile means 71. So they're only going to play 68 of the tiles for 17 turns each. Scott went first, which means this is probably his penultimate go. I think he places this tile and then one more. So he's having a think. Again, I think if Scott really knows his stuff, he's also calculating what remaining tiles there are in the deck.
And also he definitely calculates the score, how many points everybody has. So he needs to make sure that he's going to be at least second. So maybe if he just protects his farm from Daniele to take over, this might already be enough for second place. Or maybe if he takes 4 points from somewhere, maybe this is enough. So definitely he now makes the calculation and he goes for a farm.
He's trying to steal it.
And this is, I think, a good move in a way that it gives him 2 options to get into the farm.
Yeah, he can play to the 2 to the right or one.
So that's a really well thought out move.
So it's basically guaranteed. So basically, if you can beat Danielle, there are. Although, like we said before, Danielle's not the person he's trying to beat. Mate, do you think he sat there counted? Do you think Danielle's actually going to outscore him? Because Danielle's only like 7 points behind or something on the score track at the moment. And if they were sharing the farming points.
So let's see what Daniele draws. Because Daniele now probably needs to play a farmer as well. Does he have any farm? Any
meeples? 1,
meeples
2,
left?
3, 4, 5, 6. I think he has one left, counting on the board.
Okay, so can he play it somewhere? He is trying to.
He's making it hard. Yeah,
making it harder for Scott to take over.
I'm just counting the meeples. He should have 7, 2, 4, 6. I think he's only got 6 out, so I think he's got 1 left.
2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. He should have 1 more. But he decides to protect instead of trying to sneak in.
So
maybe he doesn't
I think they must both know. We could sit there count. I think they must both know that if they share the farmland, that Danielle might outscore Scott. Because why is he trying to?
Yes, it's true, but Scott should not bother if it gives him second place.
So 2 points to Stephen plus 5 points to Stephen, so 7 in total. So Stephen takes no lead. Stephen's going to finish the game with the most points. It's just all about endgame scoring. I'm not sure he's going to have enough to compete with these other guys.
It's probably not because the farm is quite big. 1, 2, 3, 4.
My counting was bad earlier. I think they've got 2 more turns. So this is Scott's penultimate turn. This is actually his penultimate turn. And Danielle is just making it harder for Scott to steal the farm.
So for Scott there is currently 6 finished cities. So 18 points for his farmers, which means that he's going to overtake Stephen.
Yeah, but if Scott can play there, he can get 3 more. He can play underneath where the 2 farmers are, they can get 3 more. But it also gives Danielle 3 more. No, Danielle's got those 3 now. So Scott can get 3 more by joining up the 2 farmers to the left. Danielle's actually going to score 21. Because Danielle has the 4 at the bottom, and Danielle has 3 here on the left.
Yes, true. So is it actually the interest of other players now to play this style, so that all the farmers would be joined in the one big farm?
Basically means Scott and Danielle tie, but I think Danielle might have more points on the board. Because he's got a big city at the top. No, he doesn't, because Scott's got a big city at the bottom. I think Danielle's actually losing to Scott in the long run. I think Scott's going to beat him. So Ishan's best chance to win might be to join this up, you know.
Yes.
Because if he can finish that city on his last turn, that might give him a chance. I wonder if he's going to sit and count points. I'm not sure how analytically wants to get there.
This, then you need one piece. If he has it,
he
if
has
I
it.
have it.
You're not allowed to give him a clue. You're
No,
not
I'm
allowed
not,
to give him
I'm
a
not
clue.
asking him. I'm not asking
He's
him.
just
I'm just saying
taking
you just
the-
copy
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
This is really
Very
important
say,
now for Ishan to have everything calculated, whether this finishing this big city and allowing Daniele in,
Yeah,
whether it
That's bad
allows
for Scott.
Daniele to overtake
that is
him.
bad for Scott. This scores one of Ishan's monasteries.
So I've got this turn and one more, is that right? Yeah. Yeah,
This
but
move
after
actually
that,
can
this
potentially
turn
be a
and one
game
more.
winner for somebody, for Daniela, for example, against
I was
Scott.
hoping you had this. That's all.
I'm not sorry. 4 was the points.
All right, so they get Stephen's last penultimate turn. This is a cathedral. So now, so what I will tell you now is that at the end of a game of Carcassonne, you do not want a big stack of meeples in your hand. Stephen has 4 in his hand, which means that they're not scoring. The 3 remaining currently are not scoring. He needs to get things out. He needs to have done that. So he's just going to work out which place on the board this scores the most. I think the best place for him is the top, the left just above where his yellow meeple is, because that's currently going to get him 5. Or underneath, there's another kind of L shape he can sneak it into.
That's only beneficial for him, but nobody else.
So he can place it, I think, either here, at the bottom left, where there's an L shape pointing down to the left of the city where the blue meeple is, or above near where his yellow meeple is on the far left. I think they both score him 6, sorry. And I'm not sure there's a better scoring opportunity for that type of citadel. Monastery.
Yeah, but it's only 1 point.
It seems that the reason.
You think he's not your competition?
Well, I think you both are, but
I
I'm
missed
going to
that.
go there.
Apologies.
It's
But that gives Ishan another play.
Yeah, and Black gets one back, but he's only got 1 play and he
It
has
doesn't
to-
matter, yeah. I have a player and it's him.
Scott has joined up the farm. Scott has stolen the farm of Danielle. Danielle will not win this game.
Okay, is that
So that was interesting fight that was decided with the very last
Yeah,
tile
so
that Scott played.
I think Danielle's probably going to come last here.
Yes,
He's got
probably
3 farmers that are doing nothing.
because
Oh
he-
no, apologies. The farmer at the left is scoring. This farmer's scoring 9, but the rest of the farmers are scoring nothing because Scott has nicked them. Scott is going to get 12 for the bottom field, and he's going to get 6 for the little one he's got by himself. So Scott's going to get 18 points.
But actually,
he's far
this one is joined with the
Oh, is it? Oh, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think we
So
actually.
Scott gets this one as well. So Scott gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Scott gets 21 because Scott gets this one. And then he gets another 6. Oh, hang on.
No, but I think that this
yes.
this blue is not in the
No, it's
big
not, so it's
part,
a tie.
but
It's still
so
a tie.
it is a tie. So actually, Scott needed this one in order to.
I
No,
didn't see when this red one joined in, the one on the left. I didn't see when
So
that joined
yeah,
in.
so we missed that one. So the big farm is still actually shared.
Okay, so they're going to get 21 and Scott's going to get another 3. Another 6. So Scott's going to get 27 as opposed to Danielle's 21. It's going to be close, you know, Andres. It's going to be close. A farmer for 3.
Yes, yeah. I think so.
Yeah,
yes.
farmer for 3.
Probably the best.
And then Stephen, this is the last turn of the game. He's in the monastery. He's got a meeple.
So that would be 6
That's not as many.
so that would be
Oh no, that's going to tie because it gets him his other monastery a point.
Can he play it here?
The thing's gone now.
That's got to be the...
I don't know. His head's in the way, so we
I
can't
think
see.
this would be better. Yes.
Oh yeah.
How many would that be?
7.
7.
On the,
But that's 6
on the left side of the board, it
That's
would
5
be-
plus
it
1
would
is
be
6. I
7.
think to the left scores him 1 more point.
Yeah.
This is the final play. So each gets me 7.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, this is going to be 7.
It doesn't get 7. It gets him 6.
No,
Yeah.
that one only gets you 5 plus 1.
No, 5
So
plus
this,
1.
yes,
yeah.
that is 7.
Do you notice how friendly people are? Even though they're competing, they're trying their hardest. They're looking at space. Oh, you can go there. Oh, that scores you 7, not 6. They're helping each other out. They're not expecting you to work it out yourself. So if we can hear the players as they score, that would be lovely.
1, 2, 3, 4 for the red, and 3 for the black, and 2 for the blue, and uncompleted road, I think, no more. Uncompleted cloister, 7 points for yellow, 7 points for yellow, and no more uncompleted cloister. Uncompleted cities for black and red, 1, 3, 4, 6, 7.
7 for red and 7 for black.
1 for yellow. For blue and yellow, 1, 2, 4, 6, 8. For black, 1. For black and yellow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9.
9.
For black and red, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
6 for black and red.
So it's really hard.
And now the
I think
fabs.
red has beat blue.
Because
This goes just 6 separately. So
he's separately and take 6.
And yellow's beaten.
and that one's 3 separately.
Separate take 3.
And then we got the same, haven't we?
Yeah.
So how many we got? 1, 2,
Can they get
4, 5,
Yeah, that's
6,
the interesting
7,
effect. Danielle is ahead of blue,
21 more comments.
but if they can both overtake Stephen, then Scott wins. And if they can't, then Danielle or Stephen will win. Stephen has won. Oh, wow. Well done, Stephen. All those big cities he can complete.
Oh God!
So that means not only that,
That's
because
nice down the
Danielle
end.
finished second, we have the
The last cloister made the difference.
Evening.
because Stephen won and Scott didn't finish second. Stephen is going to win the gold medal at the Carcassonne. Based on the results of the tables, it might change, but currently Danielle is in. Oh, hang on. I think Scott might still get silver. You know, looking at the standings going into that.
Scott gets
I
silver.
think Danielle will get 7 for 42.5. Scott will get 4 for 45.5. So unless Noah can win her game or Martin Wu can win his game, I believe Scott will get the silver. Sadly, Ishan finished in last place, so Ishan will not medal whatever happens. So there is a result of the other table to come, but all we know from the game we watched, it was super close. We were struggling. We kind of wrote Stephen off at some point, and then he completed a couple of things and got some big cities. So he managed to hold off the farming fight from Scott and Danielle to win out. So well done to him.
And most important, the farmer strategy lost.
The farmer strategy lost, so I need to eat some humble pie. It's still something I do, and maybe it lost because they were both doing it. If one of them did it, maybe it would have scored slightly better. But well done to the players. Excellent performance for Scott just to reach the final, clearly ahead of everyone else. Well done to Stephen, who finished. He won 3 games over the course, and he won 3 games, one of those against Scott. Well done, and tied for second twice. So well done to him for winning the gold medal at this year's Carcassonne. We hope you've enjoyed watching us. We have 2 more events tomorrow, as well as a presentation for all the medals for the overall events for the week, the Pantomime, the juniors, the seniors, the women's, the Euro Games and the Abstract Games, which you're in contention for 2 of those medals, Andres. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it again. And we will join you with Azul tomorrow morning and then Agricola tomorrow afternoon. See you later.
Goodbye.